The mysterious death of Elisa Lam at the Cecil Hotel. Supernatural, accidental, or murder? Welcome to Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's true crime podcast, where we dive deep in the most chilling, mysterious, and unsolved stories from across the world. I'm your host, Nicoll of Nicoll Investigations, and today we're exploring one of the most perplexing and haunting cases of the last decade and a half. The tragic death of Elisa Lam in 2013 at the infamous Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. This case has baffled investigators, inspired countless theories, and left a deep imprint on the world of true crime. Elisa's case is filled with strange details, unsettling video footage, and lingering questions that still don't have clear answers. Was it a tragic accident, or is there more to the story? In today's episode, we'll unpack the strange events leading up to her death, explore the eerie history of the Cecil Hotel, and examine the chilling final moments captured on camera that have left people wondering what really happened to Elisa Lam. Before we dive into the story, let me give a brief overview for those unfamiliar with the case. In early 2013, Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old college student from Vancouver, Canada, traveled to Los Angeles as part of a solo trip through California. She was described by friends and family as a kind, curious, and creative person. Elisa struggled with bipolar disorder and depression, but she remained an adventurous spirit who loved to explore new places and share her experiences on her blog and social media. On January 26, 2013, Elisa Lam arrived in LA. She'd just come by Amtrak train from San Diego and was headed to Santa Cruz as part of her solo trip around the West Coast. The trip was supposed to be a getaway from her studies at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, where she was originally from. January 26, that trip would tragically end with her death in one of the strangest and most infamous hotels in America, the Cecil Hotel. Elisa was active on social media, and during her travels, she posted frequently about her experiences. But just days after checking in, she vanished. Her family being wary of her traveling by herself, but the young student was determined to go at it alone. As a compromise, Lam made sure to check in with her parents every day of the trip to let them know that she was safe. That's why it struck her parents as unusual. They didn't hear from their daughter on January 31st, the day she was scheduled to check out of the Cecil Hotel in LA. The Lams eventually contacted the Los Angeles Police Department. Police searched the premises of the Cecil but couldn't find her. Although the coroner's office ruled her death as accidental drowning, strange details of Elisa Lam's case have fueled rampant speculation about what may have really happened. Internet sleuths have come up with a myriad of theories about the tragedy, involving everything from murder conspiracies to evil spirits. But when it comes to the disturbing death of Elisa Lam, where does the truth lie? Up next, the notorious Cecil Hotel. The notorious Cecil Hotel. Now, if you're not familiar with the Cecil Hotel, you should know that it is known for its dark history. Built in the 1920s, the Cecil was originally meant to be a stylish destination for wealthy travelers. The Great Depression and the decline of downtown LA turned it into something else. Over the decades, the Cecil became associated with violence, death, and despair, being the site of numerous suicides, murders, and even connections to serial killers like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, who stayed there in the 1980s. With this grim history, some believe the hotel itself carries a dark energy, a place where tragedy seems inevitable. 6 years later, another murderous patron moved into the hotel, Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger, who earned the nickname Vienna Strangler. In fact, the building's sordid past has earned it a reputation as one of the most supposedly haunted properties in Los Angeles. Since opening its doors in 1927, the Cecil Hotel has been plagued by 16 different non-natural deaths and unexplained paranormal events. The most famous death associated with the hotel, other than Lam's, was the 1947 murder of actress Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia, who was reportedly seen drinking at the hotel bar in the days before her grisly demise. Elisa checked into the Cecil Hotel on January 28, 2013, staying in a shared room, but her roommates complained about her odd behavior, leading hotel staff to move her to a private room just days later. During this time, she kept in touch with her family daily. On January 31st, communication suddenly stopped. Elisa failed to check out of the hotel as planned, and her family, worried that something had happened, reported her missing. The search for Elisa went on for nearly 3 weeks. During that time, hotel guests started complaining about strange occurrences: low water pressure, odd tasting water, and a dark discoloration coming from the taps. Up next, the infamous video footage. The infamous video footage. But what truly made this case go viral was a piece of video footage. Surveillance camera in one of the hotel's elevators captured Elisa's last known moments. The footage is disturbing to say the least. The video, which you can easily find online and which I will share a link to in the show notes, shows Elisa entering the elevator in a state of confusion. She presses several buttons, but the elevator doors don't close. She steps out of the elevator, looks around as if someone is following her, then hides in the corner. At one point, she steps out again, making strange hand movements, as if she's talking to or gesturing towards someone or something that isn't there. After a few minutes of this unsettling behavior, she disappears from the frame. The elevator's doors finally close, but Elisa is never seen again, alive. The video became an instant sensation, sparking countless theories about what might have happened to Elisa. Was she having a mental health crisis? Someone stalking her? Could something more sinister, something supernatural, have been at play? Up next, the accidental discovery of the body in the Cecil Hotel's water tank. The accidental discovery of the body in the Cecil Hotel's water tank. February 19th, 2 weeks after the video was published by authorities, maintenance worker Santiago Lopez found Elisa Lam's dead body floating in one of the hotel water tanks. Lopez made the discovery after responding to complaints from hotel patrons about low water pressure and weird taste coming from the tap water. According to a statement by the chief of the Los Angeles Fire Department, the tank in which Lam's body was found had to be drained completely and then cut open from the side to remove her 5'4" frame. Nobody knows how Lam's corpse, floating lifelessly next to the same clothes she wore in the surveillance video, ended up in the hotel's water tank, or who else might have been involved. Hotel staff told authorities that Lam was always seen by herself around the hotel premises. At least one person did see Lam soon before her death. At a nearby shop, eerily named The Last Bookstore, owner Katie Orphan was among the last to see Elisa Lam alive. Orphan remembered the college student buying books and music for her family back in Vancouver. It seemed like Lam had plans to return home, plans to give things to her family members and reconnect with them, Orphan said. When the autopsy results for Elisa Lam's case came out, it only served to ignite more questions. The toxicology report confirmed that Lam had consumed a number of medical drugs, likely to be medication for her bipolar disorder, but there were no indications of alcohol or illegal substances in her body. Up next, theories. Theories. Let's break down some of the theories surrounding Elisa's death. First most widely accepted theory is that Elisa's death was a tragic accident. We know that Elisa struggled with mental health issues, including bipolar disorder, for which she was taking prescribed medications. Toxicology reports came back. They showed that while Elisa had taken some of her medications, others were absent from her system. This led many to believe she might have been experiencing a manic or psychotic episode at the time of her death, which could explain her strange behavior in the elevator. In a disoriented state, Elisa might have made her way to the roof. Someone climbed into the water tank, tragically drowned. The autopsy did not show any foul play from the evidence that was processed, but the coroner's office noted that they were unable to do a full examination because they could not examine the blood from Lam's decomposing body. But there are problems with this theory. For one, how did Elisa get onto the roof? The hotel's roof was supposed to be secured with locked doors and alarms. Yet no alarms were triggered that night. Even if she had somehow managed to bypass the locks, the water tanks were difficult to access. They were large, heavy, and had metal lids that required significant effort to lift. How could she have done all this by herself in the state she was in? This is where other theories come into play. Some believe foul play was involved. There's speculation Elisa might have been murdered by someone who knew how to access restricted areas of the hotel. Perhaps someone was following her that night, as the elevator footage seems to suggest. Yet there's no evidence of another person involved, and no one was ever charged. Then there's the supernatural theory. Cecil Hotel's long dark history of death and violence has led some to believe the hotel is cursed, or even haunted. Could Elisa have been influenced by something paranormal? Some people interpret her gestures and movements in the video as her interacting with an unseen entity, maybe something malevolent that led to her tragic end. Of course, these are just theories. The Los Angeles Coroner's Office officially ruled Elisa's death an accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder as a contributing factor. But for many, the bizarre circumstances still don't sit right. Up next, who is responsible for Elisa Lam's death? Who is responsible for Elisa Lam's death? Elisa Lam's case continues to fascinate and haunt people worldwide. Whether you believe it was a tragic accident, the result of foul play, or something beyond explanation, one thing is certain. Elisa's death left behind more questions than answers. Santiago Lopez, who was the first to find Lam's body, described in detail how much effort he had to exert just to find her body. Lopez says he took the elevator to the 15th floor of the hotel before walking up the staircase to the roof. Then he had to first turn off the rooftop alarm and climb up on the platform the hotel's 4 water tanks were located. Finally, he had to climb another ladder to get to the top of the main tank. Only after all that did he notice something unusual. He noticed the hatch to the main water tank was open, and looked inside and saw an Asian woman lying face up in the water approximately 12 inches from the top of the tank, Lopez said. Lopez's testimony suggested that it would have been difficult for Lam to make it to the top of the water tank on her own, at least not without anyone noticing. The hotel's chief engineer, Pedro Tovar, also made it clear that it would be difficult for anyone to access the rooftop where the hotel water tanks were located without triggering the alarms. Only hotel employees would be able to deactivate the alarm properly. If it was triggered, the sound of the alarm would reach the front desk as well as the entire top 2 floors of the hotel. Some reports say tracking dogs were brought in, but the scent was lost at a window that opened to a fire escape. Could this be how Elisa and her murderer bypassed the alarm to the roof? And while the Cecil Hotel, since being rebranded, is no longer the seedy establishment it once was, the ghost of Elisa Lam and the many other victims tied to its history still lingers in the minds of those who visit or research its infamous past. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Ontario Cold Cases and his True Crime Podcast, available wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and leave us a review. Follow us on social media for updates and let us know what case you'd like to hear about next. As always, stay safe out there, and thank you for listening.